Hey there guys, you're tuned into YouTube once again to the Pharaoh's Vessel, and today I'm bringing you a deck profile of my Gaia the Fierce Knight deck, consisting of obviously mostly Gaia monsters and things that can help it out and stuff. So without further ado, I'll jump straight in, but just before I do, don't forget I've got a big, well, I say a big giveaway, it's not really a big giveaway, it's only a little something. But a competition will be coming up in the next couple of videos, so you know, stay tuned for the competition and stuff. Also drop me a like and subscribe, that way then I know there's people out there who are actually watching them and I can get more videos up for you, etc, etc. So without further ado, like I said, straight into it. This is Gaia the Fierce Knight. So starting off the profile, I have two copies of Lord Gaia the Fierce Knight. He's got a great little ability that if my opponent controls a monster and I have nothing, I can special summon it from my hand. Once per turn, if a monster with attack higher than this card is special summoned to the opponent's field, I can make this card gain 700 attack until the end of the turn. So yeah, nice little starter. Next up we have three copies of Swift Gaia the Fierce Knight, which states that if this is the only card in my hand, I can normal summon it without tributing. Next up we have three copies of Arisen Gaia the Fierce Knight. Basically, if my opponent controls more monsters than I do, I can normal summon this without tributing. If this card is tributed, I can special summon one Blackluster Soldier monster from my hand or graveyard. I can only use the effect of Arisen Gaia the Fierce Knight once per turn. When I ritual summon a Blackluster monster, I can banish this card from the graveyard as one of the monsters required for the ritual summon. It's a nice little card there. I've got one copy, I believe. Yep, just the one copy of Charging Gaia. I can normal summon this card without tributing. If this card is normal summoned without tributing, its original attack becomes 1900. If the card is tributed, I can add one Blackluster Soldier monster from my deck to my hand. I can also only use the effect of Charging Gaia once. So of course, the main proprietor of the deck now, I've got two copies of Gaia the Fierce Knight. Always works well. I've got two copies of Curse of Dragon, and I also run three copies of the Skilled Blue Magician. Now each time a spell card is activated, I place one counter on this card. When the spell card resolves, I contribute the card with three spell counters on it to special summon one Gaia the Fierce Knight from my hand, deck or graveyard. I can banish this card from the graveyard, then target one card I control, and I can place a spell counter on it. I've also running as the additionals one copy of Rocket Warrior, who cannot be destroyed by battle during the battle phase, also takes no battle damage from attacks involving the card. If the card attacks a monster, any after damage calculation, that attack target loses 500 attack until the end of the turn. I have one copy of Silent Swordsman 3 and one copy of Silent Swordsman 5, just to boost them out slightly. I also run levels 3, 5 and 7 of the Armed Dragon, just to, you know, give it a little added kick, as well as two copies of Dark Resonator, which are your tuner monsters for the deck, which you'll see obviously in the extra deck later on, is why it comes in handy. So yep, that's the monsters. Moving on now, I have the spell cards. So here we go for the spell cards. I like to run quite a few different spells, because I believe that this deck needs them. But to start us off with, I have three copies of Spiral Spear Strike. If Gaia Fierce Knight, Swift Gaia or Gaia the Dragon champion I control attacks a defense position monster, I can inflict piercing battle damage to the opponent. If Gaia the Dragon champion inflicts battle damage with this effect, I draw 2 cards then discard 1. I like to run 2 copies of Monster Reborn, which is target 3 monsters in my graveyard. My opponent chooses 1, I special summon it, and if I do, I banish the rest. I can only activate 1 per turn. So a nice little card to defend yourself slightly with, if you're running low on monsters. 1 copy of Terraforming. I add 1 field spell card from my deck to my hand. In this one I have Sogan, which increases the attack and defense of all Beast Warrior and Warrior type monsters by 200. I like to run 1 copy of the Magical Citadel of Endymion. Each time a spell card is activated, I place 1 counter on this card when that spell resolves. If a card with a spell counter is destroyed, I place its spell counters on this card. Once per turn, if you would activate a card effect by removing a spell counter from the field, you can remove that many spell counters from this card instead. If this card would be destroyed, you can remove 1 spell counter from this card instead. So it's kind of helpful. Kind of helps you shuffle your tokens around a bit. I got 1 copy of the card Destruction. Remember guys, these decks that I put on are non-competitive. You can't use them in competition play, because obviously there's cards on the ban list that are in here. Unless you want to try it, and then you never know, you might be able to find something to use instead. But 1 copy of card Destruction, 1 Lightning Vortex. There's 1 Dark Hole. I have 1 copy of Polymerization, as well as 1 copy of Fusion Substitute. I have a copy of Pot of Avarice, which allows me to select 5 monsters from my graveyard, then add them to my deck and shuffle it. After that, I draw 2 cards. I have an Upstart Goblin, which allows me to draw 1 card. My opponent gains 1000 life points. Dispel. Mage Power. Legendary Sword. And a Lightning Blade. You know, just to boost the attack and defense powers and stuff. And I also have 1 copy of the Blackluster Ritual, because I only run 1 copy of Blackluster in here. But I also have Luminous Dragon Ritual as well, because I have the where's he gone? Let me find him. I have the Paladin of Photon Dragon in here as a little added extra as well. So yep, that's the spell cards that I run in this deck. Moving on, I'll move on now to the traps. So guys, for the traps, I like to run 1 copy of Mirror Force. I have 2 copies of Raigeki Break, 1 copy of Negate Attack, 2 copies of Wabaku, I also have 2 copies of Trap Hole as well. I have 2 copies of Super Soldier Rebirth, which will come in handy later on for the Blackluster Soldier, because you can special summon using one of these, the Blackluster Soldier Super Soldier. I have 1 Call of the Haunted, 1 Magic Drain, 1 Seven Tools of the Bandit, and 1 Kunai with Chain. That's basically what I run for the traps, guys. That's all it needs. Just a little added extra, a little bit of help if it needs it. Moving on next, I have the extra deck. But what I've done is I've kept back, obviously, my ritual monsters, which I meant to put at the end of the monster section, but I'll put them on with the extra deck, no problem at all. So, moving on, this is the extra deck. So guys, for the extra deck, starting with these, the rituals, I've got 2 copies of the Black Luster Soldier Super Soldier and 1 copy of the normal Black Luster Soldier. The reason I've done that is because Black Luster Soldier can be brought back from the graveyard using things like the Call of the Haunted and stuff, so then you can get rid of it again to bring out the second Super Soldier if needs be. I don't ever very rarely get around to bringing out the first Luster Soldier, let alone the Super Soldier anyway. Battles are normally over pretty quick with the Gaias anyway. 1 copy of Paladin of Photon Dragon. I can ritual summon this card with Luminous Dragon Ritual. I can tribute this card and special summon 1 Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon from my hand or deck. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, I can draw 1 card. Next we have the fusion monsters. I have 1 Sky Galloping Gaia the Dragon Champion and 1 Gaia the Dragon Champion. I like to run 1 copy on the synchro of Gaia Knight the Force of Earth, hence why I've got the tuner Dark Resonators in the deck. I have the XYZ Gaia Dragon the Thunder Charger, which requires 2 level 7 monsters to bring him out. And to finish him off, 3 copies of Gaia Saber the Lightning Shadow. So that's it guys, that is the deck profile for my Gaia the Fierce Knight deck. As you can see, it's heavy with monsters and spells, but it actually works, believe it or not. So like I said, yeah, once again, non-competitive deck, because obviously there's 1 or 2 cards in there that are probably on the ban list. But for a cheap and nasty deck, something you could build for next to nothing, it works well. So yeah guys, give us a like and a subscribe. Get some more videos up as soon as possible. I'll be shortly doing another deck profile, which will be my Red Eyes Black Dragon deck. Once again, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all soon. Ciao for now.